Bethany Eskro. I want to thank
Hi.
you hi there, for being with us tonight. And I just want to put out there right off the bat that you and I are both talking to one another from our own homes in the
Yep.
off hours of work. We're in our homes. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that there won't be any major interruptions and disturbances as we talk, but people have really been waiting to hear from you. And just so that people know who I am, my name is Deb Kuether, and I do a lot of work with Deliberate Indifference Wisconsin because of my own interests and my own advocacy. And so I'm really grateful that you are willing to talk with us today. Everybody wants an update. So I'm going to toss it over to you first, in case there's somebody who's kind of joining us midway. Give us a little background on who you are, where you work, and why we're at this point in time.
Sure. Yeah. So I think most of you know my name is Bethany. I live in Amery, Wisconsin. I work here. I am a hometown girl. I was born here, raised here. We send our kids to school here. I have family close by that live actually in Amery as well. And for about a year now, I have been working at the Amery Police Department as an administrative assistant, aside from the little gap that was this past spring. But I really love it. It is a lifelong dream of mine to work in some capacity in a police department. I went to school for criminal justice and had hoped to work in law enforcement. And then life kind of catches up to you. And, here I am with five kids later. And this is just much more suited to our life right now. And I love it. It's a fantastic, fantastic job.
And you have been an awesome employee. I don't know. I'm sure you can hear the dogs going. This is what I was worried about, right? So
it's real life. This is real life, right?
It's
Everybody
real
has
life.
dogs,
I'm going to have to
Yep.
grab that one in a second. But I think people, when they think about what, and if they've been watching along the way, they have seen footage of like what we call the interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what was going on that day? I mean, a lot of us have noticed the office looked like it was kind of empty. It kind of seemed like
Yep.
you were being ambushed. Tell us about that day. How did you feel, and how did you stand your ground in
Yeah.
such a professional way?
That I don't know how I was able to keep my composure. I guess one of my personal strengths is being able to be cool under pressure. That's something that I'm able to do. And surprisingly, I was able to remain calm and not throw chairs, as I like to say. Um, it was just kind of a normal work day. I came in, everything was quiet. Office manager was on vacation. So it was just myself, the chief of police, and a patrol officer on duty. I had no idea that this was coming. Nobody had said anything. The chief just came up to me at some point and said, "We need to talk in here." And he opened the interrogation room, and it was very confusing and off-putting. We have a conference room that would have been available. As many people saw and pointed out, the chief's office is quite large. And again, the office was empty. There would have been no reason not to just have a normal conversation, even at my desk. So it caught me off guard. I had no idea what it was about. And then he put the papers down in front of me and told me that I needed to sign this, showed me what he had, and then we just kind of got rolling from there. When you know you haven't done anything wrong, and when you know it's the truth, it's pretty easy to stick by that.
Yes, that's a good philosophy, right? Like when you know you have not done the things that they're accusing you. And by the way, I felt just watching it, I felt very much like they were treating you like a criminal. I mean, did you know that the body cam was on?
He never mentioned to me that he was recording, but when a body cam is turned on, it beeps at you intermittently, and you can hear that. So I knew it was on, but I was never told this is being recorded. Is it okay if this is recorded? I was, in fact, though, told that I had to leave my phone at my desk, which really bothered me, because I felt like if I'm not being detained, um, why can't I just have this here in case I need to call somebody? Or I just, it really, that threw me off. I did not like that.
Yeah, there were a lot of intimidation tactics, kind of like waiting for when nobody's around, springing this on you. I mean, like you said, nobody from HR was involved. I know I've heard the council was kind of talking about, well, maybe in the future we should involve someone from HR. And I mean, these are basic things that most places of employment have as standard operating procedures. So whatever kind of procedure this chief was doing didn't seem to fit in line with any of that.
Yeah, I can't really speak to his intentions, but I think everybody can kind of speculate based on what they've seen. I would have hoped that if he really wanted to have a conversation with me, that we could have done it in a much friendlier way, and in a way that wasn't so intimidating. And from the moment I sat down and signed that paper, I pretty much knew I would be losing my job at some point because of this. I didn't know how or when. He certainly didn't threaten to fire me, but it very much felt that way.
Well, and then he actually had the paperwork right there. So, I mean, at one point you even asked very directly, and he commented he didn't know yet. But, you know, to maintain your composure is very, I mean, that is, you deserve a lot of kudos for that, because I think what we expect to see, in a leader, so this person being the leader, a police chief, he kept escalating the situation by, putting you in this like threatening kind of position, threatening you with your livelihood, your employment, and for the sake that you took a picture of something that was public domain, it was something that's accessible, and they should be encouraging the public to be involved in meetings, open meetings. So the fact that that was a punitive measure that he was taking against you was just the very basis of that is, all illogical.
It's hard to follow, and I think some people have questioned whether that's really what I got in trouble for. And truly, that was the basis of the investigation. It was a picture that I took that ended up on Facebook, but I did not post it on Facebook. I wasn't colluding with anybody. This wasn't information that I had early access to. It wasn't me, trying to bribe somebody under the table to give me information. This was truly publicly posted information. And something that I did very frequently was take pictures of the Common Council agenda to have as personal reference. And I know there's many different ways that I could have accessed them and had them, but that is just kind of the way I've always done it. I snap pictures of lots of different things to have for reference, go back, and then delete it when I'm done. So this wasn't something out of the ordinary for me.
Yeah, and I think I caught from the body cam too that the chief mentioned that he claimed he knew it was you because he spent time reviewing surveillance footage of the public area and saw you take a picture of the agenda. That to me too, like, if you're at work, I don't know how it makes you feel, but if I knew at any given time somebody was surveilling me without my
Right.
knowledge, and I'm an employee, not just a
Right.
citizen coming into a space, but I'm an employee, that would be, and they might use something against me at any given time,
Right.
is very frightening that he spent his
Yeah.
time doing that.
That definitely felt very violating when I found out
Yeah.
that he watched a lot of surveillance to figure out when I had taken this picture. And I certainly know that parts of the police department, for the safety of the public and the safety of the employees, is recorded. And so I don't ever really expect that I truly do have privacy, but in the way that he used the surveillance felt very violating.
Yeah. And so, how does it feel? Like you're in Amery right now, and is there anything you want to say
Mhm.
about the people you're working with and right now, and what you feel about Amery? Does this represent what you would typically think of Amery, or is this really kind of
No,
a bad apple in the
this is
bunch?
so. The, this is definitely not what I would say is a good representation of Amory. And the police department, especially the officers that I work with, my office manager, amazing, incredible people. Part of the reason why I decided to take on this fight was because of them. Um, to to be able to work with them again was very important, but also because I know that they need a good, strong leader as well. Citizens of Amory certainly deserve
Yes.
somebody that they can trust. Um, so they're worth it. And I would not say that this is an accurate representation of our department or of the city.
I'm really glad you said that because I do think because this incident was very public, and public because the chief gave you a lot of footage of his own doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
thought that that was a wise idea to take that video, and really that's what kind of did him in. Is you could very
Yeah.
clearly see what his intentions were, what his motivations were, in his line of questioning of you, and just his overall
Yep.
treatment of you. So in
Yep.
the end, everything that he was trying to avoid doing, he actually caused to happen,
Yeah.
which would shine a
Yeah.
bad light because of one person's very poor choices,
Right.
and unlawful, discriminatory, retaliatory
Right.
choices. Now we've opened up, this whole thing around Amory, and I'm glad that you did say that this is not
Yeah.
the police
Not at all.
department in its totality. You've got
No.
great supporters, and
Yep.
you
The
enjoy
city
working
is
there.
I love this city. Yep. I love this city. I love the department. It is, some things are worth the fight, and this was absolutely one of them.
Yeah. And speaking of that, worth the fight, you have daughters, and you have a
I
family, you
do.
have daughters.
Hmm.
You have a lot of people who have actually, called you a hero many times over. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but in the messages, I know I've seen it over and over again, and people are very proud of the stance that you took. And
Yeah.
what do you say about all of that? What do you say to people who think that they are placing you as a hero?
Yeah. It's very humbling. I don't view myself as as a hero. I think I just was put in a situation, and you kind of come to a crossroads, and you have to choose. And I just chose that I would take on this fight because I felt it was worth it. I appreciate all of the support and the love and the comments. It's been really amazing to see, and I think one of my favorite parts about all of this is how many people have reached out and spoken to me personally and shared their own stories of things that they have gone through or that they are going through. And it's really incredible to be able to connect with people, and to think like we aren't alone. These are the types of things that are happening all across America, and it's happening to ordinary average, everyday citizens, people who are parents, just trying to do their jobs, whatever their situation might be. And so that's been really cool to connect with people too, and to encourage them, and to have them encourage me.
I love that part because you're saying, you're saying you're just an ordinary person, but
Mhm.
I know too, when I think about how many times these things happen, there are so many people that would not have the stamina or the perseverance to do
Yeah.
what you did, which was in a very respectful way. And everybody who watches it, because I know I take offense to it as I'm watching as a third party where the chief is making it sound like you're the person who's being who's escalating the situation when really you were
Yeah.
trying to de-escalate the situation, put some space in between his
Yep.
version of events and what really happened. And so to me that was very smart, although he did try to tell a different story to people that weren't
Yeah.
there. And you knew what the right thing to do was, and you stuck through it, even though you
Yep.
had all of that adversity coming your way. And even
Yeah.
now, I think people might not realize, even though you have all these pieces of evidence and video,
Right.
of the event, which clearly shows what happened, it's not over. It's still,
No.
something that you
Yep.
have to make a record of,
Yep.
and you need to,
Yep.
you have to do the work to
Yeah.
undo somebody else's bad deed. And that's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yep.
it's very tiring. So
It is. It's exhausting in that way. Emotionally and mentally, it can be exhausting. Financially, it's exhausting. It's not,
yeah.
this easy fight that you can take on. But there has been damage, and I've come this far. I can't quit now, just because it's tiring.
Yeah, when you say you feel like there's been some trauma or damage,
Hmm.
what kinds of things have you experienced that just make you are you're different than the person you were before this happened?
Yeah, I think in some ways I am. I'm realizing that I'm much tougher than I ever knew. I'm capable of a lot more than I ever knew. But also there have been some negative aspects to this too. I mean, I spent about a month and a half um, just in a horrible funk.
Yeah,
It's traumatizing to lose your job,
it
and I
is.
know that many people have experienced that, and it is traumatizing and it's
Yes, it
scary.
is.
Um, but in the way too that I lost my job was pretty terrifying. And now I am living um, sort of in this constant fear that I'm being watched and that I'm going to get in trouble. And that's been tough. That's been really tough to feel like I have to watch my back. I
Yeah, you
don't
have
know
to
what I'm
watch
going
your
to
back.
say that's going to, mhm. I'm worried
You
about
never
upsetting
know.
people when I'm just, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
when somebody wants to take something you say and hold it against you, or you don't feel
hmm,
safe now, kind of
right,
collaborating in the way that, and working in an environment where your ideas and you can express yourself because you've had
yep,
some severe backlash that wasn't even founded. So
right.
I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
people, yeah.
I
It,
think before, you think, well, I have First Amendment rights. My free speech is covered. I should be able to, um, use social media and not in, in a way that it shouldn't be used against me if I am truly not doing anything wrong. And that has changed me. That I feel like I'm still being watched and that I'm going to get in trouble. But
yeah, because people say,
I,
oh,
I don't know.
great, you got reinstated, after that gobbledygook
Hmm.
that the council, and that's me
Hmm.
saying that, not necessarily you, but it
Right.
was very hard to watch their discussions, and it really did seem like they missed a lot of the major points that were being brought to their attention. So I surely hope that, there's some reflection that happens there too. But right, you're back in
Yeah.
an environment working, and you have this constant, kind of black cloud hanging or around you,
Yep.
because you're not in a safe place necessarily. You can't, the trust has been broken.
Yeah. The
And
trust has
once,
been broken. And
yeah,
I don't know if people are still out to get me, if people are angry at me. And I would say that, I mean, the majority of people have been so kind and so supportive. So, I don't know if that's unfounded or not. Um, but that's just part of the trauma that's
yeah,
there. And I think that not many people realize that.
I don't think they do either. And you almost have to experience it firsthand before you can understand how it's almost like, you're waiting for someone to jump out at you around the corner,
Hmm.
not literally, but like figuratively. You just,
But
you
yes.
have this
Yep.
reaction,
Hmm.
like, oh, I
Yep.
don't want to say anything, even with very
Yep.
basic conversations.
Yep.
And you mentioned the financial strain, and that's another thing I
Yeah.
think people recognize, that fighting your way back for your name, your reputation,
Hmm.
all of the things that your career, the things that you
Hmm.
invested your time and money in,
Yep.
is very costly. Is there any
It
way
is.
that people, sometimes I know people ask me, what's going on with Bethany? How can we help? Is there anything that you want to tell them, if they want to continue to support you?
Yeah, absolutely. A friend of mine set up a GoFundMe, and that is certainly, I think, the best way to help us with what we need help with. This is very costly, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, here we are in 2023, but your civil rights are still somewhat of a privilege. And it's not something that just middle class Americans can afford to take on. So if people want to help us, certainly donating to that would be incredible.
And I think I've seen that before. If people want to look it up, you can find it a couple of different ways, but the actual title
Yeah,
of it is, Help Fight for Free Speech in Amery, Wisconsin. Is that how you say it?
yep.
Amery? Amery?
It's Amery.
Amery, Wisconsin. That's the
Yep,
actual title that people could Google. And it's run by,
yep,
I think, somebody named Morgan Olson, maybe.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
So, hopefully people can find you there, and can show their support in
Yeah,
those ways, because I love how you do say going through the legal system is for, it's a rich man's
it's
game.
a privilege.
It definitely is.
It is.
I know that for
It
myself.
is.
You
Yep,
can't come to the table with a couple bucks in your pocket. You got to have,
you can't a
it
lot.
is outrageous
And
what
you
it
don't even
costs to
know
even
what the
dip your foot in.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then to continue and to even know if you can continue. And I know that that's not really the fault of any attorneys out there, and that many, many attorneys, Ben being one of them, they aren't trying to nickel and dime you.
No.
But this is a career, and they have to make money too. And it's just unfortunate that it is still set up in this way, and that is still this expensive, or this, much of a burden, I guess I would say, to most people.
Well, right, and the system is overburdened. So like the legal system
Yeah,
is totally capped out. Like they have such a
right.
backlog. They delay, and what people don't
Yeah,
realize, and sometimes the other side, opposing counsel, uses these delay tactics, because guess what? Every time there's a stop, you have to pay your attorney to go back and either
yep,
rewrite something, or you have to meet again, you have to
yep,
set another date for something, and that's cha-ching, 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 ringing up
yep,
every time. So, the system
yep.
and the legal courts, they don't help at all either. And it's really kind of disgusting. And that's a whole nother
It is.
topic. But
It is.
I
It's
feel
much
your
like the
pain.
insurance and hospital bills in
Right.
America. There's
It's
just no good answer.
There's not. And by the way,
Yep,
for every person who's sitting in a room at a given time, they're having an hourly ticking rate, and it's just
yep,
anything that's
yep,
written, any phone calls, emails, it's just very expensive. So
yep,
even when you come with all the things that you've come, evidentiary wise, you still have to claw your way back to get what really should have never happened to you.
Right.
So is there anything else that you think you would want to say to people, to your daughters? And I see one of them maybe coming into the picture there. I hope they realize, and maybe they don't, because, you know, I know how kids are, but what a massive impact that afternoon, just that afternoon, when you were in that horrible situation, what an impact you've made for so many people.
I certainly hope so. I have told my girls now, you know, I always tell them you can do hard things and you can stand up for what is right. And when I came to this crossroads, I realized I can't be preaching that to them without also doing it myself. But also, I would say I could not have done this without my daughters and my husband and my family. But these 5 little cheerleaders that I have are just incredible.
That's worth so much, because like you said, when I think about the financial burden that we just talked about a minute ago, and how so many of us have to overcome that, some more than others, but all of us have to overcome it because it's huge. But then there are people who don't have a network of supporters. You know, they're trying to navigate by themselves. So the fact that your family understands, I don't know if they've seen any of it, but obviously they've been aware of it, and
they have.
Yeah. And
I am very lucky. I am very, very lucky and very blessed.
And they're lucky too, because they're learning a very important lesson. And right now in this country, we have so much division, and we have so many pariahs out there, you know, and I know there's not even a really safe category anymore of people to exist, but like women, you know, we sometimes get into positions where, you know, we are an underdog, and those dogs again. And being an underdog as a woman really can make it hard for us to speak out.
Yeah, it can, but also I think too, you know, I've looked at that in the way that I am just a part-time administrative assistant. I am an average mom, but you can kind of be the underdog, and still, just because you have a small position or you feel small and you don't feel important doesn't mean that you aren't and that you can't take on certain fights.
That is an amazing way to just encapsulate all of it. And that's why you've come this far. It's why you did what you did that day. You remained professional, calm, collected. You knew your rights, and you respectfully stood your ground, you know, and you didn't waver. And I think that's a little bit of what was very frustrating for the person who was trying to kind of intimidate you into behaving a certain way or producing information that really was, you know, not, you didn't have
unlawful.
To give up that information, and you shouldn't have even been put in that predicament. So I sure hope,
it was very chilling to feel as though I was being told that I could not even associate with people who may have differing opinions, who may have negative opinions. That felt very scary. And that doesn't, no policy of any company, of any employee could ever supersede the Constitution and that right to privacy and those rights to opinions.
I love that. And by the way, as a government employees, and I'm one too, we are going to be able to, you know, we have the right to criticize some of the systems. It's like you were saying, that is our constitutional right. And many people don't feel comfortable doing it. They'll look the other way. But sometimes, you know, we have a right to say things. And so when we get in these situations where we have a superior who is trying to put pressure on all
Right.
employees. I mean, I've noticed it
Right.
in a lot of scenarios that people are not supposed to express anything that isn't the
Right.
company line, or there is a
Right.
serious consequence. And that's
Right.
what you were put into that day. And
Right.
right there in live time, you had the knowledge and the, coolness to attempt to diffuse that. And
Yeah.
as I think I heard you say at one point, like, even though that recording really was intrusive, it was not something you were expecting. Boy, did that do
It
him
wasn't.
in the end. The fact that
It
he
certainly
recorded
helped.
it.
Yeah. It certainly helped me out. I know that had it not been recorded, it would have been a he said, she said, and it would have been an uneven playing ground with positions.
Yes.
And I don't think that we would be where we are without that.
Right. I think you're right too. And that having that, I mean, although it was very nerve-wracking, boy, did that pay back dividends. And especially we saw his behavior in the council meeting, and it was very unexpected for the caliber of position that he holds. All of the things that he did. And again, that's me saying that. It's coming from a third person observer, and I just was
Right.
shocked to see somebody in law enforcement, the top person in the city,
Mm-hmm.
behaving in such a way. So
Right.
that was pretty concerning and disturbing. And hopefully he goes about his business and maybe can improve on his knowledge level
Yeah.
there if he remains
I'm
in law
certainly,
enforcement.
yeah, I'm certainly grateful for the right to appeal and to have an open session.
Yes.
Those were very important pieces.
Yes, and I think a lot of people watched all of those pieces. And if they haven't, I strongly encourage them, according to viewers' own comments, the body cam footage,
Mm-hmm.
the hearing or the open meeting where it's being
Yep.
discussed. All of those pieces are really very valuable for any everyday citizen to kind of
Yeah.
understand their rights, because you did an
Right.
excellent example and a model for people moving forward. I'm
I
just going to
certainly hope so.
remind,
Yeah.
I know we've just got about 2 minutes left here. I want to remind people again, just in case they didn't hear it, your GoFundMe is Help Fight for Free Speech in Amery, Wisconsin, run by Morgan Olson, but all proceeds go towards your legal fight, which we want you to get this on the record. We want you to lay precedent, because then in the future, somebody else can hook on to your legal case law and use that to benefit their. Hopefully people won't get in that predicament, but unfortunately we know that there probably will be.
It happens.
Yeah, it does happen. So I cannot thank you enough for your bravery.
Thank you so much.
Your courage.
Thank you.
It's been exciting to watch. And I mean, not for you, but the rest of us are rooting you on.
It's all right.
We're like, go tell them.
Yep.
Tell them how it's supposed to be. And you did.
Yep.
Even though you didn't know anybody would ever be watching it. And
I had no idea. I had no idea. No.
You've taught us a lot, and we're really grateful for that.
I've learned a lot.
Well, anything else before we say thank you again?
No, just thank you to all of the people that have reached out and have supported us. We really appreciate it.
And you'll keep us posted, right? So if there are more updates and things that we should hone in on in terms of things that are happening with your case, we'll be able to touch back with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, great. Thank you again, and we will be in touch soon.
You.
All right.
Okay, have a good night.
Yes, you too. Good night.
Bye.